Michigan wins 34-13, and they are the champions of the college football playoff. So let us discuss the question. The game itself, not much of a talker. In the humble opinion of the blowhard that you happen to be listening to right now. So here's the angle we're going to look at. Does Michigan winning the national championship increase or decrease the chances of Jim Harbaugh exiting stage left from the Wolverines? So that's the question. Does Michigan winning the title increase or decrease the chances of Jim Harbaugh skedaddling, exiting stage left from the Wolverines? So I've got fidget spinner, IOC, and vaudevillian. And we will combine all of these things together. We're going to lock them together like that Michigan defense locked down the Washington offense for the majority of that game. So number one, which also happens to be where Michigan is. Number one. Anyway, this outcome, the outcome of the game, while it's wonderful, and if you bleed maize and blue, man, is this cool, it's wonderful, and all that great stuff. But I'm a talk show host. And as a talk show host, this game does not change the future of Jim Harbaugh in a negative or a positive way. It is there. It's the Komodo dragon in the room is right there. Jim Harbaugh has a battle, but it's not with college football in terms of the Big Ten. Well, I guess it kind of is the Big Ten, but the NCAA in general, the rules and regulations of the NCAA. And Michigan winning is great. It is validation for Jim Harbaugh, who was, I'm old enough to remember when Harbaugh was getting absolutely smoked when he first took over at Michigan. And so this demonstrates that all those beatdowns early on by Ohio State were merely growing pains, and they were worth it. Now, in the context of the future, which is what we are discussing right now, you and I, in the context of the future, Jim Harbaugh remains like a fidget spinner, gyrating all over the place, right? We know that Harbaugh has already tried not once, but at least twice to go to the NFL. So if he wanted to go to the NFL while he was building a championship team, why would he not want to go to the NFL after winning said championship? The idea that, well, he's got to stay. No! He's got the NCAA rule police, the Gestapo breathing down his neck and all that. So you've got that as a factor as well. Now, page 2 here. All right, what are the chances that this 15-0 Michigan football team, a team for the ages, but what are the chances that this team stands the test of time? And in Ann Arbor, we'll answer this way. In Ann Arbor, sure. In Ann Arbor, Michigan football, it doesn't matter. These guys are golden. They are golden at Michigan. They'll be eating free meals for years, free drinks, come back, get paid appearances, you name it. They're good to go. They'll be doing insurance commercials in 2044, and they'll talk about staying at some Michigan Wolverine house or something like that. That'll be coming your way. jjmccarthy, I'm sure, will be made a golden man in Michigan. However, that is not the bigger issue here. The bigger issue, okay, and there's no way around this, is the Michigan football team. For the rest of college football, the chances of this lasting are slim and none. And as the old line goes, Slim is currently on standby at the airport and on the first flight out of town. See you later. All right, so heading to Guam. I think Slim is heading to Guam right now. But this record is written in Acme Vanishing ink. My moles around college football. And so here's what I do. When there's a championship game, I'm such a loser. I have certain friends. Over the years, I've been around these different sports, and so there's a college football night, so I'm texting some friends of mine who work in that world. Like that they're fully immersed in the college football world. And so I'm texting back and forth. And so the general consensus The general consensus is that this record is written with vanishing ink, that the 15-0 mark and all that goes with that, the moles that I've chatted with around college football, the indication is that as we are speaking right now, Michigan rivals are already plotting to have this thing voided, the championship. They're already working on it. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's obviously the story of the year, which I didn't make a big deal about, but other people have made a giant deal about. It didn't affect me, so I didn't really care that much about it, but other people are losing their mind about the sign-stealing scandal that shadowed the Michigan Wolverines. And the NCAA, what I do know about the NCAA is they operate like the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, the governing body of the Olympic Games, which means that it is more likely than not that all it takes is a secret report from Ohio State or Iowa or who knows, maybe one of the new Big Ten teams like UCLA or USC, and they'll ding the Michigan football program. There's only one man that can keep that Michigan championship unsullied. Do you know who that one man is? That's right, Rob Manfred. Man-fraud. If Rob Manfred ran college football, they'd give Michigan an extra championship. Huh? Here you go. That weasel. I haven't forgotten. Weasel. Ran interference for the cheating ass. 1,000, 2 1,000 holes. It's true.
You little weasel.
Yeah. If Rob Manfred ran college sports, Michigan would have nothing to worry about. Instead, he's just ruining baseball one season at a time. All right. Now, final point. Will this particular game pop the bubble of excitement around Washington quarterback Michael Pennix Jr. and his stock for the NFL draft? If you listen to this show, in a previous episode of the program, we took a call from a guy in Minnesota who had already mapped it all out. Now, he also mapped out the mini bar in his home, but he mapped out in a previous episode that the Vikings were going to take Michael Pennix Jr. This guy's great and all that. I think I said something to the effect, what happens if he goes out there and stinks in the championship game? And he was bad. This was not his night. He did not play well. Michigan had pretty much bottled up for the most part. There were a couple of plays that were big, but Michigan bottled up the playmakers. And anything that Michigan didn't do, the referees stepped in and helped out. But we're not supposed to talk about that part out loud. You're not supposed to talk about the clear bias of the officiating in the national championship game. That is not supposed to be talked about. I don't know why not. But here's the way I looked at Michael Pennix. We'll stay focused on Michael Pennix Jr. for a moment. It was like a Patriot scandal from a few years ago. It was deflating. It was deflating because he looked mortal. It was the pin popping the balloon of hype, and Pennix had been hyped up, and rightfully so, as a rock star. He had one of the great college football games you can possibly have in the first Washington playoff game, and his encore left a lot to be desired, and so you see that mortality here. You see a guy that has played college football for about 12 years, it seems like. He started at Indiana. He's got 2 bum knees, and he gets tossed around like a tin can in a tornado. It was like a vaudevillian comedy act watching Michael Pennix Jr. as he got kicked, kneed, elbowed, poked in the eye, and beaten to a pulp in this game. So Michigan, again, they got a little help. They did. Hey, they're Michigan. They're Michigan football. And they certainly got a little bit of help there from the referees. There were several 50-50 calls that went against Washington, and the timing is everything. The officials can certainly play a big role in the outcome of these games because you've got selective enforcement. You can call holding if you want or not call holding. There was a ticky-tack holding call that took a big play against Washington off the board. But then Michigan guys could essentially horse collar the Washington guys, and it didn't matter. They wouldn't call the penalty. Now, on the other side, since we're obsessed with quarterbacks, does Michigan quarterback jjmccarthy have a bright future in the NFL? So I don't see this one, and maybe I'm missing something, and you can correct me, but I've seen this guy play a few times during the college football season. I'm not obsessive with college football, but I've seen him play a few times. And pretty much every time I've seen him play, I'm like, well, he's a Jag. He's just a guy. He's okay. I don't think he's the greatest quarterback of all time, like they're hyping him up to be the greatest Michigan quarterback of all time. But I would say the forecast is not bright, but it's partly cloudy. I would say partly cloudy. And he has given a master class on being a game manager. There are some people so carried away saying, well, Jim Harbaugh is going to go to the NFL, and he's going to draft jjmccarthy, and that's how this is going to go. So, okay. I look at him, I say, he doesn't even look as good as Bryce Young, who can't play in the NFL. So what do we do with that? Put that in your pipe and smoke it.